Welcome back to the Big Sky Investor Show. I'm your host, Luke Anderson. If you're just joining us, welcome. I'm glad to meet you, and thank you for joining us today. And if you're coming back, you've listened to other episodes, I just want to say thank you for sticking with me for this long. We're a few weeks in, I guess a couple months in now, and I think this is like episode 8 or something like that, 7, something like that. And I just want to say thank you for being patient. If you stuck with me this far, then you've been patient enough to listen to me struggle and develop and get better and try and find my voice with this show and find narrow down, I guess, more specifically what I want to talk about and what's going to be helpful for me and what I think is going to be helpful for the listeners. So thanks for sticking with me through that. I feel like things have gotten better. Every episode I do gets a little easier to talk into a microphone, and hopefully it's translating on the other end. So anyway, this episode has been a long time coming. I've been trying to make this episode for about 2 weeks now. If you have been following the show, you noticed I missed last week, and I'm late getting this one out this week. So this is my 5th attempt, I believe, to record this. So when I was recording it to release it last week, where I was recording was in my home, my personal home, and I have young children, and I love them dearly, but they tend to be sneaky little ninjas who break into the office and start disrupting things. So that was a little difficult, and I kind of gave up after trying for about an hour and a half to record it, and multiple attempts, and then over multiple days. And then I ended up moving office at my office. I had planned to do that before that happened, but it wasn't official yet. And then I sped the timeline up a little bit because of that. And I was like, you know what, if my recording, which is getting interrupted, then all my other work is getting interrupted just as much or more. So it was time. It was a good season for me to be working from home, specifically for health reasons. And it was a good season, but now it's time to get move on to a different place. So now I have a different office, and over in a different building. So it's anyway, it's where we're having our businesses set up for a couple of different houses. Actually still in a house, but it's a lot quieter here, so no children running around. So anyway, so got that moved over, and then ended up missing the deadline for the episode last week completely, and then tried to record it again this week when I got the essentials moved over from my office, and I got it all recorded, felt like I killed it, and went to go get it all cleaned up and posted, and I listened to it, and it was just dead noise, just dead space. And I did some digging and played around with it, and come to find out, my microphone had shut off. So, oops, didn't check that before I started recording, apparently. So I'm looking at it right now, and it's telling me that I am recording. I can see the little microphone bubble thing with the volume thing going up and down. So I think we're good to go here. So anyway, so finally getting this out. What I wanted to talk about was piggybacking off of, and I think I'm going to do this over the next couple of episodes most likely, is piggyback off of what I talked about right at the beginning of the year. I talked about what you need, or what I need anyway, to succeed this year. What are the things that I need? And for me, I needed a assistant or somebody else to help me in my work. And I have a person in place, and they are started. They've been with me for a couple of weeks now, and things are off to a good start. They've shown great initiative, and I'm very excited to see how that will continue to prosper. So I want to piggyback off of that, because I also talked about mindset a little bit, and the mindset of a business owner versus hustling and grinding. So I wanted to talk more about that today. Excuse me. So long story short, I can't remember if I mentioned this in other episodes, but I had a head injury as a kid. I was ejected from a vehicle in a car crash years and years ago. Long story short, had a head injury. My brain didn't rewire itself properly. Went undiagnosed. Come to find out, I had sustained a mild traumatic brain injury. But because it went untreated for over a decade, I ended up developing symptoms similar to that of someone who had sustained a severe head injury. And I was even to the point where my brain was certain parts of my brain were starting to shut down and were threatening to go dormant. So no bueno. So anyway, so long story short, I won't go into all the details. I'm going to do that in another episode, and I'm actually developing another show that is strictly dedicated to traumatic brain injuries, and it'll be called My TBI Fight. That will be coming up soon. I'll announce that at a later date when it's officially launched. Long story short, I ended up regressing as an adult almost about 4.5 years ago, and it's been a journey to recover and kind of discover the new normal on a day-to-day basis, and figure out how to progress forward with my dreams, goals, aspirations, and what I feel I'm called to do, and trying to figure that out without compromising my health again. And my health has been compromised a couple of times because I've pushed too hard and for too long. And that's what ended up getting me out of my last major business venture about 9 months ago. So anyway, just a little framework there. So reason I bring that up is because I have always dove in head first to get something done, whether I was in a job or in a business venture or sports or whatever. I always went in head first because I felt I had to tackle the adversity in front of me. And it was probably because I had dealt with all these symptoms from my head injury throughout the years. Didn't know really exactly what it was. It became my new normal because my accident happened when I was so young. So looking back on it, I think I probably had something to prove. And I initially, apparently before the accident, I was very good at delegating. You know, my mom would have me tell me I had to clean my room before I could go play with my friends. So I'd get all of my friends in the neighborhood and have them come clean my room for me so I could play with them. So I was good at delegating, apparently. But then after the accident, I had something to prove, and I started doing things on my own and kind of lone wolfing it more so. And that really translated to business when I became an adult and started pursuing business ventures and or business careers and then business ventures. And I've been lone wolfing it. And even last year, after I got out of my last major business venture that I was in, I got out of that because I went hard for too long. I hustled, I grinded, rise and grind and #hustle and all that. That's what I was doing. And I caused another regression neurologically and with my other symptoms that I had. And it was not pretty. It was actually rather dangerous because of the symptoms I started to develop. Excuse me. And so that year after that, over the remaining part of the year, quarter 2, 3, 4, I was telling myself, I'm not going to hustle and grind anymore. And I'm going to be a business owner. And so I thought I was taking the mindset of a business owner. The problem is that I didn't know what that meant. I always thought that being a business owner was the hustle grind mentality. You go, you do it. Nobody can do it better than you. You go, you hustle, you grind until you make it. Now think about that for a second. You're going to hustle and grind. You're going to just go and do it until it works. If you really think about it, that doesn't make any sense. Because when do you get to that point where you no longer have to hustle and grind? When you're hustling and grinding, at what point are you putting systems in place to ultimately create automation in your business? Because if you're doing it all, then you're not training other people to do it for you. So I was telling myself all last year, I'm not hustling and grinding. I'm a business owner, and I didn't know what that meant. So I started to learn and teach myself what that meant. What were true business owners doing? How were they living their life? How were they structuring their businesses and their daily routines? And I really took the mindset of a student for the last 9 months of the year. And then the beginning of end of 2018, beginning of 2019, I looked back and I thought, and I realized that I really had been hustling and grinding during that whole time anyway, but it's because I didn't know any better. And I slowly stopped hustling and grinding and started putting in systems in place, which helped, but I didn't as soon as I thought I did. So going into 2019, now I've had a mindset shift, and I'm looking, okay, now I know more and I know better on what it means to be a business owner. I know that I need to put in systems and I need teams. I can't lone wolf this, and I know what that means now, at least better. I know what it means more so than I did last year. So that's why I said in my last episode that I needed an assistant, because I need to start building out my teams. And I think people miss that when they're starting businesses of any size. I think that they have that same mentality that I had of, I have to hustle and grind, hustle and grind, hustle and grind. And while I believe that is true for most people, most businesses, I believe it's only for a short period of time. Can you do it long term? Yes. Been there, done that. But I literally have almost killed myself twice. So I don't recommend it. And I know everyone that hasn't had a head injury and doesn't have those types of medical, not everyone even has medical problems. However, and this is my opinion, obviously, but from what I have seen in my experience and all the research that I've done personally, nobody has stood out to me that has had become a high achieving business owner or executive where they have hustle, and they were the hustle and they were the grind guy, and they hustled and they grinded until they made it, and they didn't have a major sacrifice. They lone wolf, hustled and grinded, and they became ultra successful, and there wasn't a major fallout in some area of their life. I haven't seen it. Are there people out there that have hustle and grind and they've made it? Sure. But what's usually the result? They've ended in divorce. Their health sucks. They're extremely unhealthy. They've aggravated existing health conditions like a head injury or a disease or something like that. They don't have anybody around them because they've alienated their entire support system and they haven't rebuilt it. That's what happens when you lone wolf and you hustle and you grind, hustle and grind. For a lot of people, is that they get isolated, and it causes major problems. I know for me personally in my own life, every time that I've gotten into that mode and I hustle and I grind, especially long term, every other area of my life suffers except business. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that you shouldn't sacrifice, because you have to. You have to sacrifice. It's required. You're going to sacrifice time. You're going to sacrifice sleep. You're going to sacrifice relationships. You're going to sacrifice money. You're going to sacrifice comfort. You're going to sacrifice all sorts of things. However, in my opinion, sacrificing them to the point where you completely lose your health, you completely lose a marriage or whatever those things are that I talked about. Honestly, I think it's unnecessary. Now, someone's, well, you don't know my spouse or whatever. Okay, well, if you're saying that, then maybe it isn't the right relationship. I don't know. Sounds like you have problems before you've even gotten started. It's not for me to determine, not for me to judge. You're going to have to figure that out on your own. But what I'm saying is that I have seen people, and it's happened to me, where specifically in health and marriage and relationships, those have struggled more because of the hustle and grind mentality I took long term. I don't think that that's necessary in today's world. Shoot, I don't know if it was even truly necessary 100 years ago. Because you look at all the people, you look at people who have become ultra successful, have built businesses, that, you know, Rockefellers and Ford and things like that. How did they become ultra successful? Did they lone wolf it their way to the top? No, of course not. They developed systems and put people in place and trained people and developed teams. And the teams are what rose those companies up and became the companies that we know them today, that built those names of those ultra wealthy people and families that we know today. The Vanderbilts, the Rockefellers, the Fords, the Waltons, things like that. They put systems in place and people in place and developed teams to elevate their business. They did not lone wolf it. Right? They couldn't. It's impossible. Okay. I shouldn't say impossible. I actually don't like the word impossible. I don't know why I said that. Nothing, in my opinion, is impossible. It's extremely unlikely, and it's extremely unhealthy in a lot of ways. So my point is why are people? Why are people trying to hustle and grind and being a lone wolf in their business? At year 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, and their ultimate goal is to sitting on the beach, sipping a Mai Tai, earning passive income. Why are they still lone wolfing it when that's their end goal? If that's you, because I've been in that boat because I didn't know any better. Look at people who have a life that you want, who have a business that you want, and reverse engineer their life. Look at people, I don't know, I can't think of it. There's anybody that's successful. I know, look at like Warren Buffett, number one investor, not only in America, but in the world, if I'm not mistaken. What does his daily routine look like? He reads for something like 8 or 10 hours a day. A day. He's got a specific chair he sits in where he thinks and he reads. And he does that for the majority of his day. And he spends more time pondering and thinking and processing and digesting what he's learned and what he's taken in, the knowledge he's taken in. Then he spends a little bit of time at his end of his day or his week or his month, whenever he feels it's appropriate, and imparts that on his organization. So he is elevating himself as the business owner so that he can in turn elevate his team that's around him, that supports him, that builds his businesses, so that he can elevate them, who then elevate the people below them. So it trickles down, right? But his job is to read and learn and educate himself, digest the information in conjunction with the experiences he's had in life, and then pass that on, right? So, you know who else does that? Bill Gates. You know who else? If you were to look at the life of the top successful people in the world, I guarantee you the majority of them have a similar lifestyle. Maybe I'm not exact, obviously, but there's going to be a lot of commonalities in that. So if you want to live like their lifestyle, why are you out there hustling and grinding and in the trenches when the people you're trying to be like aren't doing that? Now you need to do that. You need to do that. You need to do that short term so you can learn the processes to build the systems, because they had to. But if you're in year like 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever, why are you still doing it? Why don't you have someone to build those why don't you have systems built and people put in place for those systems? That's my thought. That's the difference between being a hustler and a grinder and being a business owner. Business owners look at how they can automate their business, how they can put people in place and make their job as the business owner to work on the business, not in the business, to work on themselves, to better themselves, so that in turn they can elevate the people around them. That's a business owner. Not the guy that's going out and doing installations for, whatever their product is. Not the person who's doing daily sales, not the person who's opening the store, not the person who's answering every email. That needs to be delegated out. There needs to be systems put in place, processes put in place, so that they can be delegated to others. That's what needs to happen. So that's the difference between a business owner and someone who's hustling and grinding. To me, in all honesty, hustling and grinding, the people that are like, oh, I'm going to hustle and I'm going to grind, and 2 years from now I'm going to be successful, I think that's a bunch of shit. It's a bunch of horse shit. It really is, because most people will get burnt out, or they're going to cause something in their life to happen that will derail them. Because let's face it, we all have stuff in life, whether it's a head injury, a divorce, a death in the family, financial strain, cancer, car accident. I mean, whatever, you name it. Stuff happens. You break your leg. I don't know, whatever. Stuff happens. That's life. Everybody's got adversity. Everybody's got challenges that they have to overcome. But when you hustle and grind long term, it takes the enjoyment out of life. Unless you're, there are some people that are built to hustle and grind long term, but they're very, 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 very few. Very few. Most people, that it will suck the enjoyment out of life. They will burn out, and they will burn themselves out, and they will cause those tragedies in life, those circumstances in life, to amplify or to be more frequent. It's my opinion. You can disagree with me. I don't care. This is my show. I can say what I want. Anyway, so that's my thought for this week. That's what I'm going into 2019 with, that mentality of developing systems. So I'm going to do the work. I'm going to develop a system and a process, and then I'm going to find someone to take that over. That's what I'm doing, because I cannot hustle and grind. Like I said, for me physically, I know I can't do that, even though that's my natural tendency to just jump in and do it. I can't do that, especially now that I have multiple businesses. I can't do that. I've got a family. I have 4 boys under the age of 6. I have a wife. I have parents. I have a sister. I've got friends. I've got family. I've got other responsibilities in my life that I take very seriously, that I have to give attention to. So I can't dive in and be 100% in all my businesses. I need to learn what the important processes are, develop systems around those processes, put people in there to do it for me. And then I can overlook the companies. And I can work on myself, elevate my character, my knowledge, my integrity, my skills, my connections, wisdom, whatever you want to call it. I better myself, and then I pass that on to my team so that my team can succeed. Because I want to be in a position, I don't know about you, but I like it when I win, right? But don't you also like it when you see someone else win and you're winning together? Isn't that a good feeling? I want it to be where Luke wins, everybody wins. When Luke wins, everybody wins. So I'll leave it at that. And I will see you next week for the next show. Might have a bonus episode since it's because I want to get some more content out there. I have some more thoughts I want to get out there. So we'll see. But for sure, see you Thursday next week. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to reach out and connect, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me on Facebook and Instagram or YouTube. All the social media handles are at Luke John Anderson. John is Jon, not John. So Luke Jon Anderson. Anderson's with an SON. That's how you find me. You can also email me, luke.john.anderson@gmail.com. So love to hear from you. I will see you next week.